Today we're going to look at how to transform 5 years worth of scraps in 10 minutes. Let's do it. So what you need is a box of scraps or any amount of scraps, and ideally it'll be in a box or some sort of container because we're going to get a bit messy. You can see here I've got quite a few different things. I've got pieces from magazines, I've got pieces from affirmation cards, I've got different craft sets, ephemera, just paper sheets wrapped up. So a whole bunch of different stuff in here. So we're just giving that a good mix to mix it up, obviously. And I have a little bottle of water, used to be for perfume, and I've just put some water in, just a little spray bottle. It's going to help with the aged effect and making it all not so perfect. This is assuming your junk journal or your crafting needs are a more vintage, weathered, distressed look. Okay, that's what we're going for here today. And I've got a bunch of these Distress Oxide sprays from Ranger. I love these. I love to buy them. I don't love to use them because they're very messy. So I have 5 here in sort of natural colours, most of them. What's this one at the end? This one's kind of like it says weathered wood, but I think it ends up being kind of patina colour. Yeah, I just tried to open one of these today and it took me like 20 minutes to get the packaging off. I don't know if that's like a manufacturer thing or if that was just dependent on the shop I bought it from. So as you can see, 5 of these have been used. Whoops. And 1 has not. So we've got spiced marmalade, got rusty hinge, gathered twigs, fired brick, and weathered wood. So we're going to see how these cope with the project. So I was inspired by this the other day when I was watching another video. So I thought this was a really cool thing to try. And since I always have hundreds and hundreds of scraps and bits of paper and junk mail and things that I'm not using or I haven't used yet, and it's just been sitting there, this is the perfect way to get it ready for junk journaling. So the process, so the point of this is to get all of these looking weathered and worn and antiqued, but not having to do them one by one. So I know there are lots of videos where people will take something like this and they'll do one at a time and they'll go very slowly around the edges, they'll make it look perfect, they'll age it fantastically well, and it's just not my cup of tea and I do not have time for that or the patience for that. So this is specifically for you if you don't have a lot of time and you like to do the doing part, okay? You want to get in there, you want to get messy, you're going to do all of these things quickly, okay? So I'll just get started. Basically, we're just going to spray these Distress Oxide into the box. So you need something that's not going to leak, okay? But you don't want to overdo it. You want them to all be different. You don't want them to be completely soaked. Feel free to wear gloves when you're doing this. It does get messy. There's something about having paint and ink on your hands after working with something that just makes me feel very creative and releases those endorphins. So I'm just going to do it with my hands, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to work. This is the first time I've tried this, so let's just go in. Let's start. And as I say, I'm using these, but you could probably use other similar things. You just don't want anything that's too wet, so you only want a little bit. So the spray function of this, the misting function, is good because it's only going to get a little bit on each scrap of paper, maybe just a corner, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. We're just going with the flow, okay? It's also good for your mental health, just to have a little break, just to take your mind off of things, have something to focus on. So let's get into it. I'm going to do a light spray of water just on some of them, move them around, turn them over. And again, I think this will just help with the sort of aged look, as if they've been sitting in a store or an attic for years and years. And then we've just found them and we're going to put them in a junk journal. So I'm going to start with spiced marmalade. Again, there's no rhyme or reason. Shake, shake, shake. A couple of sprays because this is a new one. And you see you get some droplets and some sprays. So it really adds a total mix of textures and outcomes. So I've already got that on my hand. They stain quite a bit, so I probably should have worn gloves. You can see the lid is all, they drip quite a lot as well. If there's another brand of these that you prefer, please let me know, because I would like to have one that didn't drip everywhere. But this is Rusty Hinge, so I'll give that a couple of sprays. So it does cover quite a big area, so that's why you really want to have it in something contained, so your whole workspace or whatever you're doing it doesn't get covered. So, gathered twigs, this is kind of like a light brown one. And I've not moved the papers, but I'm going to now. Like, pick a few, bring them out, turn it round, so we're not just doing the same ones over and over again. Come back in with the gathered twigs. This one's very nice. This is a fired brick, kind of red, so it looks like rust. So they're all starting to get really covered now. You can see some of them are more stained than others, but it's just a really nice way to give a cool effect to pieces of scraps that look almost too new, or especially if they're from photographs, they look very polished. And oh, this one's not working too much. You have to keep them upright, I think, which is a bit difficult when you're inside a box. Oh, one seems to not be working. A lot of these are kind of old, because as I do love them, I just don't always know what to use them for. So I bought a whole bunch, and they sat there doing nothing. So I'll show you some of these when they are dry as well, just to give you a look at what they turn out like. But it works on all kinds of materials. I'll go really hard with this one, just to make sort of pools with it. Again, it's quite messy. They seem to drip quite a bit, these Ranger ones. I'm going to move it around like that. I think that's pretty much everything covered. If you see anything that doesn't really look too covered, then you just go in again, bring that to the front, or the top, sorry, and give it another spray of your favourite. So I'll go back in with this spiced marmalade. Some of them are going to be completely covered, and some are just going to have a little spatter of it. See some of these shapes developing when there's something on top of it, and get an interesting shape underneath it. So one more time, I think, bring stuff to the top that hasn't been touched. Give it a shuggle. That's a really nice one. And when they blend as well, I think that's a really interesting effect. I said the bonus of doing it all together is you do lots at one time, but you also get these really interesting effects and lines that you wouldn't have done if you only did one at a time, unless you were specifically doing that. And I don't always have these ideas in my head. Happy accidents are definitely something I rely on. So I'm going to go for this gravity. Sorry. Realise you can't hear me when I'm shaking it. We go in with these gathered twigs one, because it's kind of like a very vintagey, browny, light brown anyway. So cover these, spray, spray, spray. Some of them do get completely covered, but some of them are just the edges. Oh, And sometimes you look at things and go, why did I save that? It's because of the other side. There we go. Last spray. I'll do a big covering there. It's not too bad, you can't really see it. It's just a wee bit of ink. Takes a while to come off, but oh well, such is the life of a crafter. I'm going to do another dab of water just to give them some running watercolour effects as well, and I'll come back when it's dry and we'll show you the results. Okay, due to the magic of recording, I have all of the almost dry ephemera and scraps here, so I'm just going to show you a couple of them and see how they turned out. So you have this little picture of a wee doggy, and I don't know how clearly you can see it. It was from a magazine, like a photography magazine, and it's almost completely covered in a sort of light mist of the sprays, so it looks a lot more aged, and especially with the rips at the top. They obviously would have been white and they're now brown, so it makes it look a lot more vintage. Some of the pieces were really stained on the back, so that's an option if you want to use them that way now, because they're more interest on the back, but some did turn out really well for what we were going for. This one not so much, it was just a background anyway, so it's given it a little bit of interest, but not much. I mean, you can redo this as many times as you think is necessary. This book page scrap has worked out really well because it looks very aged, and both sides have had some sort of effect as well. This used to be just white and now it's very, very stained, so much so you can't really read what it says as much, but it's got interest to it, and that's the main thing. We're not looking for perfection here. There was no way I could have made things like this one by one, especially in this time frame. So things like this where it's dark already, it's not had too much change on it because the sprays are quite faint, so they don't give you much depth themselves. But that's the back of a page, so that was the front. It was like a jumper, but it's not really changed much on the front. It's very, very interesting on the back, so maybe you'd want to use that instead. So I'll look out a couple more here just to give you an idea. So this was just a plain whitey cream card that I'd got in a pack. So now you've got these interesting shapes here, because obviously something's been in front of that there to make it look like that when it's sprayed, and then you've got the different types of colours, or different types of colours, different shades of colours here. So I think that's turned out really, really well. So it is a bit hit and miss for some of them. Again, this is like a little tabbed index card, but it's got some really interesting shapes, and it's going to just be a background piece anyway, so why not give it a little bit more of an upgrade. Same with this, it's like a grid, and that's got, its edges are now all sort of aged, so that's worked really well. So I think it is definitely a technique that I would do in the future. I'm going to say that the lighter things tend to work well. They take on more of the colour, and the thinner it is, the more it will change because of the moisture, obviously. Let's see if anything else turned out really well. Let's have a look. Digging through the scrap box. Come on, let's see what else turned out really well. I've got another here from the magazine, so that was a high glossy new magazine, and now you don't see as much of the gloss. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but you've got some sort of edging here that looks like it's aged, and it's very blue over this side, so it's just depending on what you put in and what you use for it specifically. So I hope that helps. Let me know how yours turn out and watch the next video. I think you're going to like it. Bye for now.